Welcome to the first episode of your Small 2025 Recaps from Reality TV Warriors. My name is Michael Harmstone, and joining me as always is the Canadian who struggles to keep a clean conscience with the amount of filth that he's into, Logan Saunders.
Good afternoon.
And our favourite little dickhead, David Bindley.
Good morning.
Good morning. You chose your own intro months ago, but I had it noted down.
I don't even remember that.
It was the description used for Tommy Little on Thank God You're Here.
Ah, that makes sense.
As I said to you earlier, if I hadn't already had that one written down for you, it would have been that you're 70% sunburn and Logan's 70% rug burn. This is going to be a very fun episode. I can't wait.
Yeah. The sunburn has settled down. Rug burn is forever.
How are we both? Are you excited to be back finally after 5 months of not talking to me?
No, it's been nice and peaceful.
It has. The last time we recorded was first week of July, I think.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And it might be one of our longest... Is it our longest hiatus ever?
Oh, God, no.
We're close to it?
No, the longest we've actually gone between releasing episodes was at the end of Amazing Race 31, which was the end of May, and we didn't come back until WIDM. So that was 7 months of not releasing anything.
And not recording anything either?
No, we didn't record anything in that gap either.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, that was the start of COVID, right? So...
Yeah, and you guys weren't doing historians back then.
That was 2018. It was pre-COVID.
Yeah, oh, right. No, 2019. 2019 was Amazing Race 31. Because I was in Croatia when the season was airing.
So, quick housekeeping as always for the first episode of the season. Suspect List and First Suspicions both close at 7:30 GMT on Saturday. I'm very excited to see who the hell we're all going to suspect, because I think the general consensus is no one has any clue right now.
Yep.
I don't know. After that one challenge with minigames, I feel like I really know who it is.
Yeah. I swear to God, if I'm right again...
Oh, God. Don't even put that out there. I don't want that. Average age of the season is right on the Avbran Courtius line at 39.2.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's almost exactly Arf's age when she did Hong Kong, Philippines. She was 39.
Mm.
Oddly enough, I'll be in Hong Kong in 3 days from now.
You will, and you are not joining us next week. That's the other bit of housekeeping to do with this.
Yeah. And sadly, there's only one person over 50 this season, so we can only ask Ray if he can bleat.
Very true. Although Bridget's straddling the line, she's exactly 50, I think. I think there's a couple of people who are exactly 50 this season.
To bleat or not to bleat?
She can't quite bleat, she can bar.
Obviously, we're not going to talk about the last mole season that filmed in Southeast Asia, i.e. Netmole. Ugh.
Gross.
Yep. What we are going to talk about, though, is the fact that Traitors Canada 2 was awesome. Traitors...
Ooh.
New Zealand 2 was awesome. UK 2, not so much. UK 3, okay so far. US 2, I gave up after 6 episodes.
Mm.
You're welcome for the inevitable Traitors talk, Fuzzy.
Out of curiosity, why did you give up on the season 2 of the US version?
I just couldn't be arsed with it. I didn't like anyone. I couldn't enjoy it. I think Alan Cumming is a terrible host. And I think I was just suffering a bit of Traitors fatigue by that point. And then, obviously, Quebec came out, and it was amazing.
Yeah, greener pastures.
Yeah.
If we're talking about amazing traders, Olche Goulson.
Did anyone translate the Olche Goulson season of Traders?
Of course they did. I've seen it. It was awesome. She's exactly what I wanted her to be on Traitors and more.
There weren't any really gross Georgian men hitting on her in Traders? Or I know Michael Jackson imitations?
I don't remember any.
It didn't come up.
I will also point out that the previous season, Sundos was a traitor as well.
Yeah, that's the only thing I remember from Dutch Traders is Soundos was on it and Molche Goulson was on it. I was just randomly looking up Dutch Traders last night with random WIDM alumni that were on it.
I'll also point out Oman was awesome, which we'll get into with this episode, and Belkia is going to Thailand, which I can't wait about.
Mm.
It's the year of Southeast Asia in the Mole universe.
Yep. I've got to be honest, I'm kind of more excited for Cambodia than I am for Thailand.
Yeah, I mean, Cambodia was an inspired choice already, and after one episode, I like the choice very much.
Yeah.
Especially, I went to Cambodia a few years ago, so seeing very specific streets being used that I visited, even in the premiere, was interesting to see.
Did you see Sean Penn?
No, we did not see Sean Penn, Cambodia.
That's a shame.
Yeah, I heard Zev and Justin did, though.
Anyway, the question we've all been waiting to get the answer to, where in the world was Logan Saunders and where in the world was David Bindley?
At home! And next week, I gone.
He gone.
Have you travelled since we recorded at the start of July or not? I can't actually remember.
Yes, it doesn't feel like I have, but I have. I didn't go anywhere that far away though. I went to Seattle, and I did a day trip to the Rockies, and and my dad and I went to Arizona, and my dad is known for not being a traveler at all. But I thought about going to Arizona, and he wanted to go. So, yeah, we spent a few days hiking around Arizona, and I had to make sure that my one goal was to make sure he didn't die during the hikes, and thankfully I succeeded.
You didn't have any issues on that trip at all, though, did you?
None that I would like to publicly disclose.
I'm not at all deliberately setting you up for this anecdote, knowing that it was hilarious when I looked at it on Facebook.
Yeah.
I believe I messaged Bindles at the time going, please let him be willing to talk about this in January because it's hilarious.
I don't need to embarrass my dad about it.
I do, make with a story.
Where did you end up going, Bindles?
So I went to Canberra, which was okay. Went back up to Sydney and sort of did a little bit more there. And turns out, given that Canberra is sort of known for being a very cold place, it is maybe not the best idea to go there in the middle of a heat wave. So I sort of did like all the museum sort of things, and I mean it was nice, but 4 days was enough.
Yeah.
Did get 2 fire alarms in the space of about 12 hours though, so that was interesting.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah. So I had 2 fire alarms. I nearly got kicked out of the National Film and Sound Archive. What else did I do? I went to a theme park in Sydney and managed to dislocate a finger and tear some skin off my elbow before I went on any roller coasters.
I feel like there's more to that story, but carry on.
Oh, there absolutely is, but I have so many of these things that I'm just sort of going to rattle them off and let people fill in the blanks, only Connect style. So I went to Sydney and sort of, because I've been there so much the last year or so, I've sort of run out of all the other touristy things, so I ended up at Madame Tussauds, and that was not great. I went to Chalet Beach, which was the last Amazing Race place in Sydney that I haven't been to. Went to the Queer History Museum and basically got stuck there in the middle of a torrential rainstorm, so that was interesting. Managed to not see the largest billboard in the Southern Hemisphere while I was standing directly underneath it. Got back home, and then neighbour's house caught fire. Sort of slowly got back to work and everything, and then last week I got roped into going to another theme park and ended up very slightly sunburnt. I think I'm about 70% lobster at the moment. We'll recover eventually, but it's going to take time. So how was your time, Michael?
Well, have you got any direct questions you want to ask me?
Why do I feel like you're setting us up for something?
Like where in the world I was?
No, I don't care where in the world you were, but answer me. But, go ahead and tell the story anyway.
We shall humor you.
Yes.
Yeah. As you guys well know, I did the world's cheapest cruise in November, which was from Southampton to Hamburg, Rotterdam, Zeebrugge, and Le Havre in November in Europe. Very warm, as you might have guessed.
Yep.
But as part of the trip to the Netherlands, we actually went to Amsterdam because my brother had never been there and saw signs or posters for basically a Dutch knockoff hunted called Het Jacht Season,
Oh,
which seems to be basically one-day hunted.
huh.
And as you might have guessed, it stars basically everyone you can think of from WIDM.
Did they just create another show specifically so that WIDM alumni still had jobs?
Yeah, it's called The Masked Singer. You are welcome. Thank you for setting me up on that one, Saunders. The trip you don't know about is that I was home for 3 days, and then you may have noticed that I was replying slightly later than I normally do, and that's because I was sent on a trip to get the creepiest thing possible. So I ended up sneaking into Logan Saunders' wardrobe and recording him sleeping.
Huh.
I was not aware of this.
I can play the video if you want. I've got it on my phone.
Jesus Christ.
No, in all seriousness, I did go on another trip 3 days after we came back from that. However, there are bits of this I'm going to have to censor for reasons you'll understand. Because, as we previously discussed, and I don't think it actually made the edit in the end on Dominican Republic historians, my brother's got a new job now. And
Yep.
he was flying to San Francisco, or the Bay Area, I should say, for a meeting. And I thought, well, I'm doing nothing better, so I'm going to tag along with him and take advantage of insert company he works for's hospitality.
Yep.
And I did.
Mhm.
When I say take advantage of the hospitality, he flew business class, obviously, because he was
Yeah.
there on
What?
business. Yeah. Oh, it gets better, Saunders. And this is the bit I'm going to censor. He sent me an email saying this is the cheapest hotel that they're offering in Palo Alto. It was $450 a night plus tax. And it's
Bacon and Tory spelling.
Oh, wow.
What?
so I was staying at a 5-star hotel. This isn't even the fun bit of the story. I decided in my infinite wisdom that even though I already had 19,000 steps trying to find breakfast because I wasn't going to pay $30 plus tax for breakfast at that hotel, I'd just walk down to the train in Palo Alto and get the train into San Francisco and do a bit of sightseeing because we were going to San Francisco the weekend after anyway. And I ended up doing 39,800 steps that day.
Huh.
That's impressive. That's like 12
Yeah.
12 or 13 hours of walking time.
That was a lot. Yeah, my feet were, for want of a better term, absolutely fucked.
Yeah.
As part of my brother's trip, he also got a car hire included because we had to get from the airport, and we ended up getting a very nice Toyota Corolla with a screen and everything. That we were driving on the wrong side of the road in an automatic car, and obviously we both drive manuals. Hilarious fun, but it wasn't the fucking Beetle like in Texas. We did get asked at the hire car desk if we wanted, and I quote, speedy car, question mark? To which we were both very jet lagged and tired at that point and went, no, absolutely not. Just give us something we can drive, please. My brother's social with his colleagues, because that was officially the point of him going, was very, very close to the space center in San Jose, which is called the Chabot Space Center.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's a relation of Splinter, but I'm assuming there's some sort of familial connection there. Talking of familial connections, when we went to Alcatraz, we learned all about the native flora and fauna, including a cormorant that is named after a scientist called Hugo Brandt Cortius.
Huh.
Yes, it's Arfstad.
Oh, wow.
What?
Hugo Brandt's cormorant is indeed a bird that was, I think it still might actually be, native to Alcatraz Island, and it is indeed Arfstad because he was a scientist. I did look this up afterwards because I thought I need to tell you guys about this.
Mhm.
Did you also know that Alcatraz's solitary confinement area was called the Hole? Because I may or may not have sent a picture of the sign to Michelle and said, oh, I see where you got your ideas from now. San Francisco, of course, is known for being a little bit of a shithole in places, so we decided to park the car in a multi-story car park. And bearing in mind that my brother gets a phone with an unlimited SIM included in his work package, so he was using that as a hotspot while we were there. And when we were parking at this multi-story car park on the Friday when we were coming from Palo Alto, I ended up dropping my brother off at the hotel while he checked in, and I went to find the multi-story car park, and it was like a fucking roller coaster because every street in San Francisco is a 40-degree angle. It was terrifying. It's the scariest journey I've ever had, and it was only about 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So I put my foot down and said, "You're going to collect it on the way back. I don't give a shit." And he'd never really used Android Auto before, so he went to the multi-story car park and locked the car and everything, and didn't realise that Android Auto overwrites the Wi-Fi, which means that he had no internet to try and navigate himself back to the hotel. I was sat in the lobby at this point, and a 10-minute journey from this car park took him, I want to say 35, 40 minutes. And when I got in the car, he said, "Yeah, I actually got stopped by the police at one point because I was trying to drive the wrong way around a one-way street."
Oh.
Yeah, hilarious fun.
Yeah.
I'm sure it sounds like your brother had a great time.
Yeah. The other bit that he didn't enjoy as much is the fact that someone tried to break into the car.
I was just finished telling my parents about that with San Francisco, that it's like
Yes.
very, very, very notorious for that now.
Yeah, bearing in mind I parked on the very lowest level of this car park deliberately because I knew that it has a bit of a reputation and no valuables in there or anything. They still smashed a back window. Luckily, because he hired it through work, there was the included insurance that means we paid nothing for it.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can cormorants bleat?
That is a very good question. There's also one bit of this trip that I've not told you about because it is hilarious.
Yeah.
So because of me doing so many steps on the first full day there, the Tuesday, I was chilling by the pool most of the time.
Yep.
And the Thursday morning, I'd say about 10 o'clock local time, I was chilling by the pool, and my phone just goes off. And I mean, like, scary notifications. And it turns out that 220 miles away from that hotel was an earthquake.
Huh.
Normal when you're in
San
the
Francisco.
Pacific area. Yeah, I mean, San Andreas Fault, all that sort of stuff. However, 5 minutes later, it blares even more because there is a tsunami warning while I'm sat by the pool.
Huh.
And I may have sent a message to my brother just going, if the tsunami reaches this fucking pool, I've got bigger things to worry about, given I'm on the 3rd floor. And you know the best thing? This isn't even the anecdote I was teasing. That's coming in a minute. One thing you did forget to mention as well, Bindles, given what we were talking about during Dominican Republic, you held a hard quiz trophy.
Yes. It is very, very heavy.
Hilariously, it was the really big brass mug you held as well.
Yeah. So, just sort of adequate size for me.
Yes, Matt Barr. I also want to launch a new feature for Saunders. Saunders, one-word film review, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Too much water?
One word only.
One word?
Wet.
One word movie review. Fun?
This is already paid off. I also, before I get to the anecdote choice, because you've got a choice of 4 anecdotes from me, I also do want to draw your attention to something I was made aware of in September that I noted down because it really made me laugh at the time. There is an AI application that roasts your Twitter feed. So me being me, I obviously did it for the 3 of us, back when you still had Twitter, Bindles.
Yep.
So mine's, Michael, the self-proclaimed world-famous podcaster whose fame apparently hasn't reached beyond his mum's living room. You're like a quiz show groupie desperately clinging to your 15 seconds of fame from 6 years ago. Your Twitter feed is a sad mix of reality TV commentary and sports brand shilling. I guess when you can't make it as a contestant, you settle for being a walking billboard. Your obsession with the chase is adorable. It's like watching a toddler try and join the grown-ups table. And let's not forget your ambassador status, because nothing says I've made it quite like begging for freebies with a discount code. Keep chasing that dream, Michael. Maybe one day you'll be famous enough for people to actually care about your opinions on Italian French husbands. This was, of course, just after Celebrity Race Across the World had a contestant who was Italian French, and I mentioned that to someone. However, mine is the least fun of the 3. Logan's. Wow, Logan, you're really living the dream. If that dream is being a walking Wikipedia of obscure reality TV trivia. I bet you think knowing every contestant's zodiac sign makes you interesting at parties. Your tweets read like the ramblings of a superfan who couldn't make the cast, so you decided to become the world's least necessary commentator instead. You traveled to 63 countries, yet somehow your personality is still flatter than Canada. Speaking of flat, your attempts at witty replies are about as edgy as a butter knife. Maybe spend less time analysing strangers on TV and more time developing an actual personality beyond that guy who knows way too much about The Amazing Grace.
I can't argue with that.
Why do I have the feeling my one's going to be even worse?
No, Logan's is my favourite of the three, I think, but
Okay.
yours is still very entertaining. Yours is, the self-proclaimed world-leading reality TV challenge expert. I'm sure that title looks great on your non-existent LinkedIn profile. Your tweets read like a desperate attempt to sound clever, but they're about as deep as a kiddie pool at Bondi Beach. You're so obsessed with Big Brother, I bet you dream of being locked in a house where people are forced to listen to your witty commentary. Your anti-racist feminist stance would be admirable if it wasn't just a thinly veiled excuse to feel superior to others. And let's talk about your username, the Grim Recapper, more like the Grim Attention Seeker. You're so thirsty for engagement, you'd probably start an argument with a traffic light. But hey, at least you're hostile to idiots. It must be exhausting being your own worst enemy.
Yeah, I'm thirsty for many other reasons.
Ain't that the truth? Right, so we will end the preamble section with a choice for the two of you. So you can either choose one of these four options. The lie that I told you. A national treasure and knight of the realm called me pusillanimous. My version of a Kill Bill revenge arc, but slightly less bloody. Or the time I accidentally tried committing biological warfare to get my way.
I'm leaning towards the first one.
Yeah.
The lie that I told.
Yep.
That is the correct answer. Because, I've been waiting to tell you about this for literally months at this point. So, on June 18th, we recorded episode 7 of WIDM Historians for Dominican Republic, and one of the many things that we discussed was Jeopardy UK being recommissioned on episode 6, and applications being open on episode 7. I was walking back from the supermarket on the 26th of June, the afternoon after we recorded episode 8, and I got a call from an unknown number with an 0161 dialing code, which is the code for Manchester. I greeted it suspiciously, as I often do, and was greeted with, "Hi Michael, it's Georgina from Jeopardy. Are you free to talk?" Inside, of course, I'm going, holy shit, this will make an amazing anecdote for the podcast, and outwardly, cool as a cucumber. We have a nice chat about what I'd do with any winnings, what I'd do for fun, if I'd ever seen Jeopardy, etc. Then we get to the fun stuff, which is, of course, the phone quiz. Bear in mind, I'm on Bluetooth headphones, walking through a very windy northern town centre, looking as if I'm mental, just shouting, "Seattle!" occasionally.
Yeah. And on brand for you.
Yeah. The pass mark for Jeopardy audition quizzes in the US is about 35 out of 50, they reckon. I got 42.
Oh, wow.
And one of the ones that I got wrong was an incorrect question, so it's actually 42 out of 49. We then arranged for me to have a Zoom audition, and here's where the lie comes in, kind of, because it's a live emission. We actually arranged it for the day after the WIDM Historians finale recorded. So as we were recording that episode and making jokes about me never hearing back from Jeopardy, I kind of already knew that I had.
Okay.
The Zoom audition the next day went well. I had a bit of stress as I had arranged to get my hair cut beforehand so I could look my best, and then the barber decided to ignore my appointment and accept a walk-in, and I ended up having to sprint back home to make it in time. We played a truncated board, and I got the hardest goal in the board, so I was content, but I wasn't expecting to hear back. It'd just be a fun story to tell that I'm not completely persona non grata anymore. However, then I got a surprise email on the 29th of July, which is the first day of the Jeopardy US off-season, saying that I'd been shortlisted the very last stage. If I got through this, I would be actually going to the Stephen Fry stage at Media City Studios in Salford. I would also, weirdly, never had this before, need a full criminal records check, and they would email me either way by, quote, early September. Obviously, freaked the fuck out at this. Yeah. Going, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit.
How did you fuck it up?
Well, given that I had potentially 2 months to prepare for, hopefully, domination. I love how you just expect me to fuck up here.
Well, I know you.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to that. Officially, I wasn't on the show yet, but I did have about 3 weeks' notice, potentially, so I needed to get revising if I was going to. And I did feel good about my chances, given, they were shelling out money to actually get me to do a criminal records check. I revised like I'd never revised before, and thankfully Jeopardy Australia appeared on my sources, so I was able to actually watch that and become one of the single-digit number of people who actually watched Jeopardy Australia.
I didn't even watch it.
It was all right. I mean, the first episode was probably the best of them. They had a very good returning champion towards the end, who I think his equivalent Coriat in America was something like 34 grand an episode. He was ludicrous.
I hear that halfway through Double Jeopardy in the Australian version, they just bring MJ and Chelsea as additional contestants.
Of course. Who's ready for a stowaway team? So it got to September 9th, which was the first day of the Jeopardy US season 41, I think it is now. And they were starting to record on the 26th, and I still hadn't heard anything back. in my book, very much not, quote unquote, early September. And it was getting to the point where I was going to need to know if I'd need to take time off work. So I sent him a quick email, very polite, asking if any decisions had been made. And I shit you not, half an hour later, I got a rejection. However, normally the story would end there, but of course, knowing me, it doesn't. To say I was a little bit upset at them was a vast understatement. I basically thought of nothing else for 8 weeks at that point. I didn't do any of the editing for Historians, which was, in hindsight, a bit of a mistake. And I was very, very angry at them for like 2 or 3 days. And my friend who I mentioned when we were recording Historians, Jez, who also applied at the same time, I said to him, look, I know they're inevitably going to ring me for the run through, and I'm going to tell them to shove it up their ass because I really am not in the mood to deal with them. So obviously, I was upset that I couldn't get on the show, and I was also upset because I had it in my head that the way I was going to start this year was doing a cold open for this episode and going, guys, I've got an announcement to make. I know we made a lot of jokes at the expense of Matt Barr during Dominican Republic, but as of September, I've got something in common with him. I was cruelly denied by them rejecting me the opportunity to make a dick joke to begin this year, and I'm still not sure I've forgiven them for it. And it did take a while for me to actually get back into Jeopardy. It took until the 20th before I could even start watching American Jeopardy again because I was that angry at them. They did say in the rejection email there was a chance that I could get called as an alternate, so I then had a choice to make. Do I do a Viking funeral and burn all my flashcards and everything, or do I just keep revising in the hope that they're going to ring me? I obviously chose to do the Viking funeral. I thought, fuck them all. Fast forward to the 25th, the day before they start recording.
They rang you.
And I wake up feeling like a cough's coming on, thanks to the dirty bastards in the gym the day before. I then, I'd say about 10, half 10, get a call off an unknown WhatsApp number, and you think, spam call, I'll just reject it. So I rejected it. And curiosity got the best of me. I Googled the name that came up, and I'm like, IMDb page, she works on Songs of Praise. Holy shit, she works on Jeopardy. I need to ring her back immediately. I then freak the fuck out that I missed this call. Ring her back immediately, and she says, hi, Michael. Thanks for ringing me back. Was wondering if you're free tomorrow to do the run-through. I'm like, oh, fucking hell, seriously? I'm feeling like shit. This is not going to end well. So I chat to my manager. I end up saying yes and ringing her back and asking if doing the run-through would affect my chances as an alternate, and she said no. So I'd do it just because it's, fun and there's a chance of me proving what they could have had.
Yep.
If I fucked up, no one would see it. If I didn't, I'd still continue my unbeaten streak on Jeopardy. And it might move me to the top of the alternate list, which is the other thing. Morning of the 26th, I feel like death warmed up. I was awful. I couldn't move out of bed. It was awful. I had to wear like 5 layers just to be able to go outside, and managed to drag myself to Media City. Actually warmed up a bit, and it was my friend Johnny who was doing the run through with me, and it was a guy called Sam who I was warned by a mutual friend is an absolute demon on the buzzer and won the studio run through with about 15k last year compared to my winning score, which was £876. We did a quick one-board game, and I did pretty well. I won by about 500 quid, so I was feeling a lot more confident at that point. The reason that I mentioned my friend Johnny is because I had a bit of an advantage here in that I remembered that the board we were playing was the same one we played in the run-through last year. I knew where the Daily Double was. I couldn't remember what the answer was. I let him get it, and he got it wrong, because I'm a horrible person. We then go to the studio with Stephen Fry, and it was amazing. Hence, my tease that a national treasure and now Knight of the Realm called me Pusillanimous. They messed up the podium order instructions, which meant that I got to be in the champions podium, which felt very deserved. And we got to meet all the crew, some more familiar than others from previous shows, and one who I don't think I'd met before, but he sounded vaguely familiar. He looks vaguely familiar to me. We played the run-through game like it's a proper show with times and everything, and it's fair to say that I'm on a bit of a hot streak. I find the first Daily Double when I'm on £1,250 and wager £250 to keep my lead, to which Stephen Fry does call me a pussy and get it wrong. So far, so me with Daily Doubles. In the equivalent of the ad break, they bring us some water in custom Jeopardy water bottles, which I do now have as a souvenir. Ooh. Second board, I find the Daily Double again. I'm on £2,750 and wager £750, but this time I actually get it right. Double Jeopardy, I found the third Daily Double and had £850, and both of them I knew very quickly and should have wagered a lot more. Sam finds the final Daily Double, and he has £2,300 when I've got 4,600. I'm fully expecting him to wager everything, and inexplicably he doesn't. Luckily, he gets it wrong and falls back. We end the double Jeopardy round with Johnny on 1250, Sam on 1,800, and me on £5,350.
Wow.
I never fell behind. And when we write our final Jeopardy wagers down, they both go all in, and I write 0 in brackets, I'm a wuss. Stephen sees this on his screen and doesn't even have any air of mystery on it. He just goes, what a pusillanimous bid. To which I did turn around and tell him not to spoil it. Sam and I both get it right, but Johnny doesn't because he forgets to phrase it as a question. And ironically, we talked a lot during the game about Sam doing exactly that on Final Jeopardy last year. And it ends up with me still on 5,350, Sam on 3,600, and Johnny on 0. I worked out my Coriat was £4,225 out of 10,050, which is roughly equivalent to $22,000. I don't think I've ever quizzed better. I was first on the buzzer like 50 times. I was sent on my way with a fee in my pocket and having a good, albeit very ill day. And when I got back to Harmstone Heights about 5 p.m, I had to have a nap for half an hour because I was feeling so awful.
You should get sick more often.
Yeah, I really should. I obviously quiz better when I have no pressure and I'm feeling like death warmed up. Over the next week, I keep my phone nearby just in case I get a call, and this is a very long-winded way of saying that if you watch Jeopardy UK, when it actually comes back, you still won't see me because it never rang. Between the games, I'd needed to escort into the bathroom because Media City is an absolute labyrinth, and it's so easy to get lost. And the crew member was asking me about what shows I'd done before, and I said jokingly that they were too scared to cast me for anything now that I got $9,000 on the cash builder on the chase. And after the run-through, I realised that I'd phrased it wrong. It turns out they weren't too scared to cast me, it's just they're too pusillanimous to give me a chance. And one final thing, that vaguely familiar crew member whose hand I shook and couldn't place where I knew him from, it turns out 3 weeks later I realised where I knew him from as we were having a chat, Bindles, trying to find a GIF for Fuzzy to use on the bingo boards, because his name is Mark Hughes, and he was the runner-up to our good friend Matt Barr and King of the Nerds.
Oh.
I couldn't place him. I met him, I shook his hand, little Irish fella, and I was like, I really recognise you from somewhere, but I can't think where. And it was only when we were chatting 3 weeks later that I was skimming through the King of the Nerds episodes, and I'm like, holy shit, it's him. Fuck. I should have talked to him about King of the Nerds. There was a clue in the category Art and Artists about the museum where Rembrandt's The Night Watch is, and Stephen talked about how the Rijksmuseum is set in the beautifully named Fondle Park, and unfortunately I didn't ring in for that clue to tell him how I spent 8 hours in the cold there. And I'd say in the 21 categories, there was maybe about 4 or 5 that appeared in Jeopardy Australia, including one of the daily doubles, and it was the only one I got wrong, and I'd seen the clue before. I couldn't remember what it was. 2 final things I do want to mention, because I did tease one of these as well. Number one is the fact that work asked me to do a quiz for them for our meeting in December, and me being me, I did do a picture round that was Traitors hosts from around the world, and they had to guess the country, and I called it Traitors Gonna Trait.
Did anyone get them all?
No one got them all. I think the best anyone got was about 3, because it was Claudia, Alan, Roger, Karine, and Gargo from Sweden.
Ah.
But the trick to it was that the previous round was all country names, and all of the answers were also in that round.
Sneaky.
Yeah. And the final thing that I do have to mention is more of an announcement than anything, and it is that as of Saturday, I am now an uncle because my brother has got a dog.
I was about to say, what?
Yeah, I've just sent you guys a picture on Facebook of my new nephew, Vancouver.
Vancouver?
Yeah. Have a look at the picture, Saunders. You'll see why it's called Vancouver.
So cute.
He is. He's only 8.5 weeks old. Or 9 weeks old tomorrow, actually. But Vancouver is a border collie. Therefore, he's Vancouver, BC.
I see.
He is absolutely adorable. We went and picked him up on Saturday, me and my brother. And I was in charge of making sure that he didn't escape the cardboard box that he was sat in.
You realise he's got to get another dog now and call it Vernon.
Oh, absolutely. We've been joking for years that because he's always wanted a border collie.
Yep.
Been joking for years that it would either be Vancouver, Vernon, Burnaby, Victoria, any BC town you can any BC Thanos
Smithers.
that you can basically think of. Yeah, he has to get some sort of wolf pack of BCs. But yeah, his patience is very much being tested by Vancouver at the moment because he's an incredibly intelligent dog, and he's absolutely got my brother wrapped around his paw already. So finally, this episode.
Oh, that's right. There was an episode we were talking about.
Yeah, WIDM.
Yeah, this isn't just us catching up after 5 months. So a couple of bits I want to mention from the pre-union before we get into it proper. The people that had something suspicious to do with them are 3 people. It's Micah, Toon, and Sophie. So Micah and Toon were both asked a different question by Rick when he saw them first, which was, you had to keep everything quiet for a few months. How did it go? As opposed to like, oh, is it great to see everyone again?
Yeah.
And the other one was Sophie referencing the game in her night before video, which was, of course, the code name that Oman used.
Interesting.
Also, in reference to her surname, I thought that Frankenmolen was what happened in the Dominican Republic monastery. Which is a scene Saunders still hasn't seen yet.
No.
So we open on the B-roll of Cambodia, and the 10 contestants sat on a rooftop at the first execution in Phnom Penh at 5 p.m. It is a test based on one question, wie ist der Mol? Just like it's Netmol.
Mm.
And then there was a second question that was asked, which is, how confident are you on a scale from 1 to 100?
And you're only allowed to pick odd or even numbers, depending on who you are.
And you've got to take the elevator to the right floor.
Yeah. I did see someone on Reddit a few days ago genuinely defending the decision for Netmol to be determined entirely by the question, who is the mole? It's like, no, that's not how the show works.
Mm.
Terrible opinions on social media. It's a theme last week. So the title of the episode is A Clean Conscience, and everyone is at a monastery getting a blessing 8 hours before the execution. Rick doesn't join them for obvious reasons, as he's not allowed in any religious place anymore, and he introduces the season properly. They're beginning with a big surprise, not just for the candidates, but for the mole. One by one, they are called to the monk to receive a blessing and a numbered envelope. Did you guys guess what the twist was going to be here?
No.
I kind of guessed that they were going to do something a little bit similar because, like, we'd heard in the promo stuff that it was going to be a surprise for the mole as well. And I'm like, well, if the mole doesn't know about it, that means they haven't been briefed, which means they probably haven't been chosen or something like that. But I didn't think of it like this exact way.
No, at this point in the episode, I sort of hadn't twigged it yet. I was just really fucked off with them for doing a one-question quiz and then offering yokers, because that's basically an exemption. So the note that Bridget gets, because she's first up, is you are at the beginning of the search for the mole, and thanks to the ritual of blessing by the Buddhist monks with a clear conscience and a clean slate. From now on, feast your eyes, be bold, social, and try to stay stress-resistant. Do you want to go far in the game of truth and lies? It's necessary that you're sometimes observant and convincing, but also decisive, ruthless, and deceptive. To help you on your way a bit, you have a chance to win a yoker. I'll tell you later if you're up for it, Rick. And that's how he signs off every note he sends people.
And then we also had the intro for it, and they completely switched up the intro compared to every single other season they've ever done.
Yes.
Unless Oman had a different intro.
I was going to say, you've not seen Oman, which means...
Is this similar to the Oman intro?
Yes. Yeah, it is. This is the... With the new showrunner, they changed the intro style.
Did the new showrunner also do Oman?
Yes. Yeah, that was his first one.
Oh, okay.
And that's why it went down so well. Because as we found out in interviews a few weeks ago, he is not just Belgian, but he is very much affiliated with the Belkia production crew. He went and had a chat with them. So, you know, all those little Belkia motifs, from the better challenges to trying to fuck with people, that's entirely deliberate. And in fact, he did say in his interviews that he put in a deliberate tribute to Belkia in this first episode, and I'm assuming he was referring to the briefing of the mole.
It's interesting to note that I remember a few years ago, or probably 6 or 7 years ago, when people on the WIDM subreddit, when Belgian mole would come up, they would say, oh no, the Dutch version is far superior. And now here we are 6 or 7 years later, and now it's, oh, the Belgian version is the far superior one. That's the general opinion now amongst the WIDM crowd. And now we have a showrunner who is now being inspired by the Belgian version and adopting a lot of what they do in terms of general like motif and how it's filmed and just the visuals for it now.
Yeah, I do have to point out there's a big thing that you didn't actually flag that makes this look a lot more Belgian, and that's the fact we have the black bars on the top and bottom now. It's filmed in a completely different resolution.
Huh.
Oh,
If you notice, the Belgian episodes, especially the last few years, I've noticed this, they're very widescreen.
yes.
The sort of cinema resolution rather than TV resolution. And WIDM this time around, and I can't remember whether Oman did this as well, but they definitely did it in this premiere. The black bars at the top and bottom. It was cinema resolution.
Huh.
I'm guessing this season has leaned a lot more into the Belgian motif compared to of the Oman season.
I think, I mean, I'm not the best person to talk about this, but I think the color gradients were different as well. It looked a lot sort of warmer tones to
Yeah.
me.
Yes, I think that's what I noted at. I think I noted that for the breakfast scene. I was thinking, whoa, this is very Belgian lighting that they are using. This would not be in any other WIDM season.
Yeah, because WIDM, the past few seasons has been very, very cold toned, even when they've been in warm places. Whereas this episode did feel quite warm toned to me.
It feels a lot less sterile this time around.
Yeah, I mean, I know you've seen Oman Bindles, but Saunders hasn't. There are a lot of fun wrinkles in Oman that I could see Belkia doing.
Yeah, I liked Oman.
Yeah, I mean, the big one, this isn't spoiling anything, Saunders, because it's in the premiere, I think, but the big one is the fact that you do not earn any yoker. You have to pay for a yoker out of money that you've snuck away from the pot.
Oh,
So yokers are a flat fee in Oman. It's €200, I think it was off the top of my head. But you have only a few opportunities to exchange them with physical money with NPCs. So NPCs will be waiting at certain challenges for you to sneakily give them €200 and exchange it for a yoker.
that is a surprisingly elaborate twist for
Yeah.
WIDM.
It's really clever.
It almost feels like we were due for a change in showrunner.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'd prefer a change of host. I'm sort of hoping that Sam ends up winning the season and taking his father's place here. But
Second generation WIDM host, is that how far we've come in the timeline?
yeah. I mean, we did joke about calling him Peter Yan's Nepo baby this episode. I'm looking forward to the opportunity when we get to call Peter Yan Sam's Nepo daddy.
The one thing they didn't change with the intro, though, Horace's voice is still in there.
It is, yeah. I mean, that's always going to be in there in Venom. The other thing that I did love about the showrunner's interview as well is the fact that he basically said, yeah, I know these people are officially celebrities, but I've no fucking clue who they are, so they're just normal people to me.
Yeah.
Which is basically our attitude, which is hilarious. I feel like the new showrunner is much more on our wavelength than old Rick was.
Yeah. It's
I
was going to say something, but I'll bring it up with the challenge later. But I really liked those new map graphics they've got this year. Like they seemed a lot more detailed than last year and the year before, where it was basically, here's a map of the area, and we're going to mark the exact places we're going to visit, and then that's it. This felt like a proper map.
Yeah, that's what they did in Oman as well. Oman was more of the handwritten map motif, I suppose. But I love the new intro. I said this during Oman. I thought it was a brilliant evolution. I mean, I don't have much to talk about in the first bit of this challenge. My favourite thing about it was the fact that Sam and Stein were trying to sneak a look at Bridget's letter. It really tickled me. I didn't think I was going to be as on board with Stein as I am. I knew I'd like Sam because, you know, the Jeroen doesn't fall too far from the tree. But yeah, I didn't think I'd like Stein as much as I do.
It really feels like a season where I don't know whether they've focused on it, but whether it's, you know, coincidental or not, they've really got like a strong male cast this season, which they don't normally have.
Yeah.
Like Sam's really good, Stein's really good, Tone's really good, Ray is insane.
Ray somehow passed the psych evaluation.
Yeah, and Gabrielle is somehow also there. But like with the women, you know, they spent a lot of time with Bridget, and we got a little bit of Rose, but then the other three kind of just sort of blend together a little bit too much.
Yeah. I mean, we had this conversation after the pre-union. I think there is a clear divide in who's probably going to be an early boot and who isn't.
Yeah.
I think you can easily chop 4 people out of this cast
Yep.
as to who's going to be an early boot. The fun thing will be whether those are our bottom 4s.
Mm.
Nora gasps when she sees Rick, and I mean, I'd gasp if I saw that he was still hosting.
I thought it was she gasped at how bright his blue suit was.
Yeah, Michelle liked it, weirdly.
Michelle has no taste.
At least it's something different, right? New showrunner, new suit.
Yeah, it's going back to the pastel colours of Mexico too. I think he must have had it left over.
Yeah, if only they'd done what they've done the last 2 seasons, just had Rick not appear for the first 20 minutes.
Yeah. My first favourite visual of this episode, though, has to go for whichever sick bastard thought it's a good idea to get Rick to whisper in everyone's ears. Because Rick is not a tall man.
No.
Stein is. And the visual of Stein having to bend down probably about a foot for Rick to be able to whisper in his ear was perfect.
If only they showed Rick jumping up and then having to whisper really quickly at the exact moment that he passes Stein's ear.
Just on like a little teeny tiny trampoline that he's got to push from person to person.
Yeah. He has to pick it up and carry it and place it down.
What they should have done is what they did for the Jeopardy run through, because obviously I am a tall human. The other 2 were very much not. So they had to bring out the world's largest apple crates for them. I swear one of these apple crates was probably about 7 or 8 inches tall. It was really funny.
We call it a Rick crate.
Yeah.
You know, those apple crates, you know, they're named after Gillian Anderson. Because apparently she had to use them basically all the time on the X-Files because she's, you know, like 5 feet. And so they basically just renamed them after Gillian Anderson because she was using them all the time.
Yeah. That's actually an interesting fact.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So Rick knows who to thank.
So Rick addresses the group and tells them they've got to name 5 people they think have been given the chance to win a yoker. If they're right, they will lose their yoker. If they're wrong, €1,000 will be taken from the pots for each person. And it's always a good idea to start a season with a potential minus €5,000.
That's fit him. The first thought I had was they really, really don't want them to win any money this season.
Yeah. I mean, this is a fake-out mission. It's ultimately very pointless. It's a waste of the first 40 minutes of the episode, but it's also quite a fun fake-out.
Yeah. I will say, I think the twist we've got this season makes it a little bit less likely we're going to get a massive pot drying, just because the mole hasn't really been briefed and doesn't have time to do the usual, I'm going to win money now so I can take it out later sort of strategy.
Yeah. So each of them is then sent to make a choice based on what they've just learnt, and Rick warns them that as long as they don't see the bigger picture, they will remain in the dark. They must assign 12 characteristics to their fellow candidates in private, and when they turn the corner after doing their characteristics, they find the test tablet waiting for them. Shock, gasp, horror.
One more thing about the outside bit. I thought it was funny that they spent, the 15 minutes arguing, and then basically picked the 5 people who put their hands up right at the start of the 15 minutes.
Yeah, it was fundamentally pointless.
Yeah.
And none of them are even the mole. No one. They did that themselves.
Yeah.
No, I looked at the timestamp about this point and went, bloody hell, it's been 40 minutes already. It's only an hour and 10 episode. So we then flash back to June and the mole interviews, and they were all asked which 3 qualities they think a mole should have. Interestingly, the graphic was very millionaire.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a hint.
Is there also a Dutch version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire that every WIDM alumni has done?
Every country's had Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. It still is, I think, the most exported format in the world.
Yeah.
Is it just called V is the Millionaire?
Yeah, it's abbreviated to VIDM.
Yeah.
It gets really confusing. So that's how Jeroen ended up being cast. He went to the wrong studio.
No, he reached the milestone of being cast on VIDM Renaissance when he got to question 10. They do a different money tree in the Netherlands. It's all very confusing.
Yeah. And if you get it wrong, Bridget yells at you to get out.
Very true. So it's now time for the test. One question about who the mole is. Whoever doesn't know goes home, except for the mole who can never go home. And my next note is just, the mole's not been chosen, has it? Everyone's name's on the sheet.
Yeah, once that happened, that's when I was piecing it together, like, more I was thinking, I don't think we have a mole yet.
Yeah. Well, everyone's name's usually on the sheet.
Usually they remove the person doing it, I think.
No,
Don't they?
because we've had a few times where they've shown the graphics and the person's basically moved the mouse over their own name.
All right.
Is that because of that guy from Australia, Bali? What was it? Guys? Whatever his name was? Gilles? He did, where he genuinely thought he was the mole when he was executed the first time?
I have gone on record in previous years as hating it when they pick a mole on location.
Yep.
I believe when they did it for Vietnam, I basically said, right, you've got away with it, Gilles, but don't do it again. I don't hate it here. For one big fact, which is the fact that even when a mole has been chosen not on location, in WIDM they get like 2 weeks' notice. They don't get much chance to prepare as it is. So it's not that big a disadvantage for the mole in this case.
Yeah, I think the bigger problem here is they're not going to really have much chance for any sort of like detailed hints, but they've sort of been like sidelining the hints the last few years anyway, so that doesn't really make a difference anymore.
Yeah. So Rick says that no one will get a red screen because no mole has been chosen yet. Now one has. He asks each of them publicly if they want to be the mole, and Sam is the only one who says that he doesn't want to. However, the mole was chosen by the group, and the mole still doesn't know that it's them yet.
I wasn't expecting such a quick callback to the Sicily season last year, where only one person didn't want to be the mole and was stuck on a raft all by herself.
Do you think there is a chance that Sam still is the mole, though?
Yeah.
No.
Yes, we've got a diverse opinion for the first time in years. Yes! It's not just Anna.
Yeah.
So each of them then meet Rick to find out if they're the mole or not. They've decked out a lift in the mole logo, and they must then choose a van out of the front of the hotel. And Sam deliberately chooses a van he thinks the mole is in, with all the non-Sophie women.
Yeah, did his dad have a feud with Sophie that we don't know about?
Yeah, restraining order. I really hope that Sam does well enough that we get Pete Yan at the reunion. They need to just sit him behind Rick glaring. That's all I want from this season.
Just like where they stuck Healer last year.
Yeah, exactly. Just dead center, staring at the camera, going, "My son's a fucking idiot."
Oh, you know they're going to cut to him.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
It's good that Rick didn't have to whisper into Peter Yan's ear. Then he would have had to jump a lot higher.
Yeah. And Peter Yan would have just glared at him.
Or picked him up by the scruff of his neck.
Picks him up like a baby.
Yeah.
So they then wake up on day 2, and we get our banner for the week as Sophie yawns at the coffee machine.
Yeah, I mentioned this elsewhere already, but that when the coffee's being poured, that whole initial day 2 montage was very, very Belgy, with the coffee being poured, and I was thinking, is that Peggy Lee music being played? I swear that's the intro, and sure enough, it was. I was thinking, yeah, this is definitely what Belgy would do.
I swear to God, if it's secretly like Micah's voice that they've doctored into the song.
It's the Peggy Lee cover of Mrs. Krabappel from The Simpsons. Bet you didn't expect me to be the one to make a Simpsons joke. Suck it.
Yeah, I had like 2 other Simpsons jokes in the notes elsewhere, but I didn't think they would land as much.
And we also get confirmation that each of them had their own room, so the mole had a chance to come to terms with their new role.
I wonder if that was part of the chat that the showrunner had with Gilles, because Gilles had that story about how, oh yeah, that was included in the episode itself when he briefed the mole in Vietnam, how he said, we picked the one hotel that has the thinnest walls possible, and we have to somehow sequester the mole to tell them that they are the mole without anyone else overhearing in the neighboring rooms. So it looks like they learned from Papa Bear's mistake and made sure to pick a hotel where no one could really hear each other.
So Sophie already visibly suspects Sam. She says that information is power, so the more that anyone tells her at breakfast, the better.
Yeah. What's your favorite color?
What's your blood type?
What's your pet's name? I want to know everything.
Vernon.
How many times did you compete on The Masked Singer?
I love that we still haven't actually given any context to the Masked Singer thing.
I mean, to be fair, they didn't really give any context to how they actually chose who the mole was.
No, true. In case anyone's wondering, Masked Singer finished the night before recording this, and I think it was 6 of the 20 of them were WIDM alums of some description.
Yep.
And that's ignoring the fact that Kim Leanne's been on it before. Tico was 4th place a few years ago, I think.
Yeah, I think there's 2 winners and a runner-up have been WIDM alumni now, and that's not even mentioning that like 2 out of 5 judges are WIDM people.
And the brother of the host.
Yeah.
How many people in this cast have been on Masked Singer?
None that I'm aware of.
Yet. So far.
However, one of the people in this cast is already doing another show with Jan Versteeg.
Ooh.
Oh.
It's like a celebrity hiking competition, I think, called No Way Back.
Huh.
But Ray is the survival expert on that. And in that cast is at least 2 other WIDM alums.
That makes sense.
One of whom you'll absolutely be able to guess, Bindles, because he does every single show.
Art?
No. So Rick meets them all in front of some tuk-tuks. He offers them a cruise on the Mekong River, but needs their help to provide elements of the party that they're going to have. Sort of champagne, cake, snacks, drinks, etc. If all 10 of the mini-challenges are done correctly, they will earn €3,000 for the pot. And there are 5 tuk-tuks, which 2 of them must go in each of. It ends up being Sophie and Bridget, who are the musical and language talent, Rose and Toon, the omnivore and peacemaker, Stein and Sam, strong stomach and backpacker, Ray and Gabrielle, warm-blooded and maths tiger, and Nora and Micah, airy and high-ranking. The reason I draw attention to that is that, as you guys may have seen, that is the suspect list bonus question this week, is which tuk-tuk was the mole in? Normally I'd do a 50-50 choice on week 1, but new rules, baby. We're doing hard questions this season. A harder. So yeah, you got a 1 in 5 chance of getting that right if you're going to guess this week.
So good luck to anyone playing their Joker this week.
Yep. Well, yeah, I thought, knowing that Briggs' logic is always play the Joker in the first week or the last week, I thought I'd make the first week question a bit nastier than I normally do.
Yeah.
So, surprising absolutely nobody, the Omnivores are the first to get their first mini-challenge, and Toon and Rose must eat 2 tarantulas between them. The 2 tarantulas are worth 4 trays of snacks for the boat, and if they're delivered correctly, it is €300.
So, what was Toon expecting the task to be by choosing that tuk-tuk?
Like, if you're a vegetarian, why would you do an omnivore challenge if you don't eat meat, you glorious fool?
It's like, if you're a herbivore, don't go into the omnivore tuk-tuk.
Yeah, the element of this that is completely underrated that I've just thought of now is that in the pre-union, Toon said as soon as he realised they were going to Cambodia, he bought a Lonely Planet guide. If you have any flavour of genre savvy for any show that goes to Cambodia, you know someone's going to end up eating a tarantula, because that's just what happens.
Yeah.
Apparently if you go to anywhere in Southeast Asia on a reality show, it's, here's this tarantula, hope you like it. They even did that in WIDM Thailand, because I just watched that not too long ago, where it's like, hey, how about you guys eat these tarantulas? Oh, now you get to eat these cockroaches.
Yeah, it's one of those things they sort of love doing in that part of the world. Like, it's, tarantulas in Cambodia, it's balut in the Philippines, it's, like duck anus or whatever in China all the time.
Or frogs' fallopian tubes.
Although, weirdly, considering, how many times Amazing Race has done India, I don't think there's ever been a gross food challenge there.
No, I think it might be culturally insensitive.
Yeah.
That's where the line is drawn in the sand.
Yeah, I do say this on the same day that Tar Hub had as its episode of the day the episode of Amazing Race 4 where everyone got groped on a train. But yeah, I think there may be a degree of backlash if an American show did a gross food eating challenge in India.
Yeah.
It's the same reason you don't really see the classic patty fuel task in Amazing Race US.
Yeah. Although they've done it before.
Yeah, not for a while though.
No.
Amazing Race 18?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a fair while since they've done any sort of look how poor India is task.
Yeah.
So Toon is vegetarian, which means Rose has to eat both, and she does, I would say, eat them quite enthusiastically. I was very impressed. She does not flinch.
No, she just eats them like they're a canapé or something.
Yeah, I think she said, "Yeah, I just had these for as a late night snack last night. They're in my. I have some in my bag." And then she offered some to the producers from her backpack.
She does, however, raise herself in my estimations by not breaking a single bit of eye contact with him. If she's eating them tarantulas, he is watching her do it.
Yeah.
With a cold, dead stare.
Yeah. You will watch me savor this tarantula, and you will like it. Look at the crunch you're missing.
As the musicians, Bridget and Sophie find a typical Cambodian band, and they must use the instruments to play a traditional Dutch song to at least 10 people. They waste time by singing before realizing they have to play the instruments themselves.
It's like they mentally blocked themselves from understanding what the challenge was because they thought, no, they wouldn't expect us to physically play the music. That would just be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Also, they were playing Baby Shark, which is famously a South Korean song.
Sung by people who chose to sing a Dutch song instead of something that was recognizable for the locals.
As the Maths Tigers, Ray and Gabrielle find a tray of drinks, and they must pay for the drinks for the party by converting the dollars in their wallets into Cambodian riel and pay the vendor exactly 19,800.
As soon as I saw this challenge, I felt really bad for them because that is not easy to get that exact change because when I was in Cambodia, a lot of stores just flat out list their prices in US dollar. It can be actually quite difficult to spend Cambodian riel, and especially that specific of amount. Trying to get that exchanged, I am shocked that they were not severely scammed in the process.
I will say Ray sort of getting the challenge and then thinking, oh, there must be a currency exchange nearby, is maybe the most European anyone has ever sounded in Southeast Asia.
Well, Ray's whole thing as basically Dutch Ant Middleton is get in, get out, no survivors. So that's just how he focused on this challenge, is just get in, get out, do the challenge, no survivors.
But yes, it's funny though. Like this isn't Czechia or else or like Denmark where every single street there's a currency exchange.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a different animal once you're in Asian countries.
Did you guys watch Race Across the World last year?
not yet.
Not yet.
They did. I think they ended up having a stop in Cambodia. I think it might have been Phnom Penh, actually. And yeah, I seem to remember people had a little bit of trouble in exchanging any sort of currency in Cambodia. It was a supremely difficult route to give them, to be honest. With a lot of language barriers.
I should also note that Phnom Penh is not one of the. I would say it's not even in the top 3 for most touristy places in Cambodia. Like it's not a very big capital city at all.
No, because you'd expect that people are going towards Angkor and Siem Reap, wouldn't you? For example.
Yes, well, yeah, because Angkor and Siem Reap are very close to each other.
Yeah,
and that's definitely where a lot of the tourists go. And then if they want the beach tourism, they go to Koh Rong. But yeah, Phnom Penh though, it's definitely not. It's more like some digital nomads will hang out there, but it's not exactly huge for tourists to just spend lots of time in.
I believe Siem Reap is the next location after Phnom Penh.
I'm not surprised.
I can't remember where the third one is, but I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being Koh Rong.
No, I can't remember the name of it, but it's like some sort of farming place down near the coast.
Yeah. Koh Rong has also been a pit stop on Race Across the World. That was in the first one.
Yeah, the first season, right? Yeah, because I remember they went there.
As the Airy Pairy, Micah and Nora have to light a set of candles and blow them all out in one breath. If they succeed, they can transport the cakes to the party. They do succeed in one attempt, but one of the candles wasn't lit, so they've got to reattempt it. And they succeed on their second attempt and grab the 2 cakes. Stein and Sam, as the pair with the strong stomachs, have to peel durians and bring at least 2 kilograms of the pulp to the boat. They can only transport undamaged segments.
It's funny because it's another Southeast Asia reality show tradition. Oh, we're going to Southeast Asia. Let's give them some durian.
Yeah.
Because I don't think most people even associate durian with Cambodia. Usually, it's Malaysia or Singapore.
It's towards Singapore, certainly, because they obviously have the infamous rule on the MRT, which is you can't bring durians on.
And then every Airbnb in Malaysia said, you cannot bring durian into this apartment.
It was nice of them to get all of the stereotypes out of the way in this one challenge, instead of doing it like an entire durian challenge in 6 weeks' time or whatever.
But also, of all the mini challenges we saw, this is by far the biggest trap. This is such a time sink. Because they have to deal with the smell anyway. But also, durians, notoriously, you cannot grab them. So you have to grab something to be able to grab them with. Then you're also wielding machetes. And it's not easy to cut through the skin of a durian, as they prove. It's such a trap challenge. As soon as you see that challenge, you probably take a punt and go, I'm going to go to the other one first.
Yeah.
I wish Emanuela tried to attempt this.
You know, she did Dislimston Men's last year. I was going to tell you guys about this. Yeah, she made her big TV comeback after, all the trying to smuggle a gram of cocaine or whatever it was into Tomorrowland. Yeah, she did Dislimston Men's and didn't qualify, I believe. I was looking at how Art had done, because Art's gone out now, but he didn't. He played 3 and lost them all, I think. But yeah, Emanuela was the first person out the season before.
Well, I'm glad she's doing well.
Yeah, I also had a look at her Wikipedia page and saw how many drugs she actually tried to smuggle into this festival, and it was a lot. I'm not exaggerating when I say it was a gram of cocaine. I believe the rules in the UK is that possession is anything more than 1/4 of a gram. So that's a lot of cocaine. Rose and Toon are the first to arrive with their plates, followed by the cakes and the drinks. And Micah, however, may have sabotaged by messing with the cake when it arrives. We did see she stuck her fingers in the top of the cake.
I don't know where to go with that.
You're just flashing back to one of your many movies, I think, Saunders. 2 fingers in a cake, You're a new man. So Toon and Rose have to find 3 partygoers on the street to come to their party, and if they succeed, they win €300. Sam and Stein find beer pong, while Micah and Nora must play keepy uppy with a balloon.
The traditional Cambodian activities.
Of course. Ray and Gabrielle find a 5-kilo block of ice that they've got to melt with their bodies to earn ice for the party.
That was disturbing.
Yep.
It wasn't even a block. It was like 5 kilos of ice cubes.
Yeah, you know that Ray has done that before. That's the thing. You know that this is a sort of weird survival shit that he's done before.
Yeah.
I took a course in melting things.
I just think it's funny we get a shot of Ray randomly sticking a huge chunk of ice down his pants, and then we get Gabriel sort of trying to wipe his ass with the ice. And then my only note on it is, why are you only doing this one at a time?
It's also a much less erotic version of the Amazing Race Australia 2 detour with the soap in Turkey.
Yeah.
I can just hear, just Ray starts thinking he has to melt everything. I bet I can melt that cake. I bet I can melt that tarantula.
I bet I can melt those random Cambodian locals.
Yeah.
Rick, get in here. I bet I can melt you.
This was a really good challenge overall, but they probably needed to, when I was watching it, they probably needed to explain it a little bit better that they had 2 separate mini tasks each, because I watched Tone and Rose get to the boat, and then they went back out, and I'm like, why are you going back out? You finished. And I didn't realize there was a second task for them.
Yeah, I thought that.
I only caught on that it had to be 2 tasks because when Toon and Ruse are at the tarantulas, they say, oh, it's worth €300. And I thought, 300 times 5. Oh, they each have to do 2 tasks.
Yeah, I thought they just, I thought they just waited a little bit weirdly, because that was clearly the easiest of the first tasks.
Yeah.
Compared to changing money or cutting durian or performing with local instruments or spending 20 minutes lighting candles.
Yeah, that was the other weird thing with the editing too, is just how long they spent on the first task for each duo, and then the second task was rushed.
I think it was probably because not everyone got to their second tasks.
Yeah, I think they probably needed like another 15 minutes in the time limit because they had 45. There's no reason this couldn't have been an hour. But like Sam and Stein basically give up on the jury, and I think with only about 15 minutes left. So when you figure that they've got to give up on that, go to the beer pong, do the beer pong thing, which probably take 5 minutes at least, and then get to the boat. Like they really did not have any time for the second challenge at all, and they didn't come close to finishing the jury.
No, I mean, the Jurian was by far the hardest task that we saw,
Yeah.
but neither of them gave up on it. So the time runs out before Sam and Stein do anything. Ray and Gabrielle deliver their ice, and Nora and Micah deliver their balloons. And Rick says 5 items were delivered, but only 3 were approved, for a total of €900 of 3,000 for the challenge and season so far.
I think this is my favorite moment of the episode because like they do the wrap up thing with Rick, but they haven't let them put their things down. So you've got
like Ray still has the ice cubes.
They've still got the ice. Sam is still holding the durian husks. Someone's just holding like 25 fucking helium balloons. And you figured this would have been, by the time they got everyone there and, set up the shot and got Rick to do his take and everything, this would have been probably at least 10 minutes after the challenge finished. And they're still just making them hold all of this crap until the ice just completely melts.
And why can the money to somebody who is absolutely soaked?
Yeah.
The other thing about Sam carrying the durian husks as well is the fact that they had to give him a polystyrene box so his hands just didn't permanently smell of durian.
Mm.
That also made me laugh, because everyone else either got told to carry it in their shirts or whatever, like with the ice, or were given some sort of container that they had to keep it above a certain line. But no, with the durians, they're not allowed to physically handle them, because they're just too grim.
I should notice that when Bridget was at the music task, that was in pretty much the most touristy spot in all of Phnom Penh, because it was like right next to the big palace that everyone visits when they do a day trip through the capital. So I'm surprised the time limit was only 45 minutes, given they would have had to go through that bit of traffic, because it actually can get quite congested around that area. Plus, there are a million birds, which they briefly showed in the episode when they showed the birds flying up during the music challenge. It's just birds everywhere at that spot.
If it's where I'm thinking of, I think they ran down there on Race Across the World when they stopped in Cambodia.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I think the hotel was somewhere down that promenade. So to end the episode, we see Rick go down the hallway to meet the new mole, and immediately, as soon as the sound waves come up on the screen, I scream and go, "It's a diary of the mole, you beautiful people." Because we love a diary or a briefing or anything of a mole on this podcast. Mainly because it means I get to find a stupid new AI voice to voice it.
Yeah, get it out of your system now, Michael.
Hey Mole, are you ready for your briefing?
Absolutely. I can't believe they chose me. I want to be the best mole ever.
And that ends the episode.
Well, I mean, right, whoever is the mole, I mean, they've at least toppled Jeroen so far, so they have about 23 other moles to eclipse.
I mean, by default, they kind of topple your own, don't they?
Yeah.
Coming for you, Yora.
Yeah.
So next time Nora runs around, they try and spell words with their bodies. There is a museum heist.
Yay!
And 5 valuable chests.
Can we have Angela in the getaway car again?
Yes, we can. Any
I insist on it.
Angela Groothausen cameo is more than approved from this podcast.
It'll cost us half our budget to fly her out here to Cambodia for that one scene, but I promise you, viewers, it will be worth it.
It'll be cheaper than flying her to Japan.
Yeah, very true.
What country name do you want me to say? What?
Argentina? No, he's the old host. So, the most important questions of all to end the episode. Number 1, who's fucking Saunders? You didn't think that because there's no rumour that people are fucking this season we weren't going to do it anyway, did you?
Bridget and Ray.
Okay. Thank you. Question number 2. Who do we suspect?
Who do we suspect of, or do you mean like who do we suspect of being the mole?
Yeah, who do we suspect of being the mole rather than getting freaky in Cambodia?
Yeah. Who do we? So it's not. Who do we suspect of putting fingers in cakes?
Yeah, it's who do we suspect is the mole rather than who do we suspect is showing some Phnom Penh, if you know what I mean.
Some Sean penmanship.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that's supposed to mean, but it sounds like there's innuendo involved.
Yeah, you got to drop your anchor.
Anchor what?
Before we actually do suspects properly, I'll also say there is a small chance that the pool reveal will be not on Friday when we normally release it, because Michelle is away at some sort of torture conference or something, I don't know.
Torture conference?
Yeah, she's away till this weekend, so I don't know when she's going to send her first suspicions over, which means that just because we say these are our suspects now, doesn't mean that Saunders and I don't have a little bit of flexibility to change them if we want to.
Torture conference? Is Tico there?
Yeah, he's the keynote speaker.
So who do you suspect, Saunders, anyway?
Let's see. I'll go from the top to the bottom. Gabrielle, who we did not mention at all this episode, except for 2 seconds. Sophie, Nora, Micah, Stein, Ruse, Toon, Ray, Bridget, Sam.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What about you, Bindles?
Well, this is going to be interesting because I've got Sam number 1 and Bridget number 2. So Sam, Bridget, Nora, Sophie, Stein, Gabrielle, Micah, Rose, Ray, and Tone. Mostly I'm picking Sam because I want them to redo the dinner challenge and just have Peter Young turn up and just pick Sam just to fuck with him.
We need a Peter Yan cameo in this season. Like, it's what we're crying out for, especially if Sam doesn't know about it. Just the comedy.
I smell a sitcom.
It would explain that bit from the pre-union where they asked what advice Peter Yan gave him, and it's like, no, Peter Yan doesn't know anything.
Yeah, Peter Yan's official answer was, I was hosting the show for years. I have never been a contestant. I can't help you, sorry.
Yeah. He was like, it was so long ago, honey, who can remember?
It was a Peter Yan dick moment, and he wasn't even in the episode. So my suspicions are, based almost entirely on the pre-union as of the recording of this episode, Micah, Sophie, Rose, Bridget, Toon, Sam, Stein, Gabrielle, Nora, Ray.
So our 3 suspect lists pretty much could not be more different from each other.
I think we have 6 different suspects in our top 3s. The 7 we've got.
Ooh.
7 out of possible 9?
7 out of a possible 10.
But you said top 3, though.
Yeah, there's no Ray, there's no Bridget, and there's no Toon. I think that's it.
Well, I mean, it's obviously not Ray.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be Ray.
I have him near the bottom.
I feel like Ray's the sort of person who... I think Ray sticks out a little bit too much from this cast for it to feel, I guess, earned is the right word. And Bridget, they're giving way too much airtime to it.
Yeah.
I get, a lot of this first challenge in particular was basically we're doing it in alphabetical order. So Bridget was first both times. But, even aside from that, she got a lot of airtime. And I know she's the biggest star here. But I think sort of if she's the mole, you sort of try and hide her a little bit more than you're doing.
Yeah, that's why I was a little hesitant at putting Sophie so high, because she moved up a lot from the pre-union just because we saw so much of her in this episode. And I feel like, especially with the Diary of a Mole stuff, it sounded quite like how Sophie would react if she was the mole, in terms of the... I could imagine her doing the sort of, wonder who's onto me, cockiness that maybe we were getting from the mole. But I don't think she would be the person that I would choose in this cast. I was hesitant to put Micah first because we saw her stick a finger in the cake. But again, that could be just a blatant sabotage because they were confident the cake was right. That was the difference.
Yeah. I feel like the only person here who was such a contestant that I can sort of rule them out straight away is Tone. But I kind of wanted to be Tone just to... I think it would be fun if it was him.
He's the only one without an Instagram account, I think.
Huh.
The other 9 were all tagged in the official announcement, but he wasn't.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have an Insta yet.
Toon? No, he has one.
He doesn't have a proper one. Someone signed up for one in his name, which is a fan account, I think, but he himself doesn't have one that I could find.
Huh. Also, I can't believe we've been recording for nearly 2 hours and we haven't made fun of his name being like the sound a cat makes when it walks across the keyboard.
You were preempting exactly what I was about to say, because what I was going to say was that Bindles and I were chatting about it earlier, and we want you to try and pronounce his name, Saunders.
I was about to. That was going to be my next thing too. Is like I will give $10 to whoever can say his last name correctly.
Lokes.
Luke.
And final question of the episode: who's going home next?
Bridget?
Ray.
Yeah, I've been cheeky and picked 3 people potentially, which is Gabrielle, Nora, and Ray.
I could see any of them going. I feel like maybe they gave Gabrielle a little bit more airtime to try and build him up, thinking he might last a little bit longer, but that could also just be because he's out early and they want to give him something.
Yeah. I think best case scenario for the ending of this season is that Sam is not the mole, but he is the winner. Because if he is the winner, we then get loads of Peter Yan content and him actually being forced to praise his son for the first time in his life on live television.
I'm proud of you, son. There's like a montage of Peter Yan pushing Sam on a bicycle and riding a roller coaster as the song by the Turtles plays. One other note from this episode: I much prefer this as the way to do a non-elimination, where you don't do some stupid like, oh, if 7 of you get a green screen, then no one gets executed, or just some convoluted way to ensure nobody gets eliminated. I'm glad it was just, we're not even going to come up with a phony way. It's just, this is the end of the episode. This will be our non-elimination from the season.
Yeah.
I hope this becomes a regular thing.
It feels like we've got 3 separate challenges next week as well, which means they probably won't have time to do, basically screw with the pacing and stick one in the middle of the episode, because they'll, be worried about not having to do the aftermath as well.
Yeah, I'm not counting my chickens yet, because this is WIDM and we have to lower our expectations a few, just in case. But if this is the only non-elimination of the season, I am very much down for it, because it basically just makes the premiere a 2-week premiere.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Next week kind of already looks like the best episode since Albania.
Yeah, I mean, non-drunk museum heist by the look of things, unfortunately, but, still a museum heist. Still, by the look of things, very fun. The spelling the words with the bodies, I don't know, could go either way, depending on what the actual objects is. And who knows what's in the valuable chests.
Yeah, I don't think, the spelling words would be the same challenge as the museum heist or the chest, though. So no. I feel like that's a separate thing, whatever it is.
So, thank you for listening to our Vias to Mole 2025 recap. We'll be back next week to continue the hunt for the newest mole in Cambodia. Don't forget you can contact us on pretty much every social media platform that's not TikTok at RTV Warriors, or you can email us and contact at rtvwarriors.com. You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/rtvwarriors. Thank you as always to Marika for the subtitles, and we'll see you next week.
Peace out and just chill till the next episode.
I'm impressed they managed to go to Cambodia and still find snowballs.